Hello, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 411. That's 411. For Wednesday, April 7th, 2021, my name is Russell Frost. I have the good fortune to be your host for this week's journey into advanced tech mobility and sustainable energy. Let me introduce this amazing panel, and we can get this show on the road. My friend and co-host, she is a multi-talented multiplayer, and yes, she's a real gamer. Georgia McKenzie.
It depends. MMORPGs, yes. Anything else on a console, I'm toast. But yes. Hey, everybody.
Hey, and let's see, next to, well, it doesn't really matter. It's all shuffled on the screen. I wish we all had, like, we could designate where those blocks were, because at least I lose one frame of reference here to communicate with our lucky viewers, and the listeners have no idea what I'm talking about anyway. So next up, our friend in with the very sexy lighting tonight in Canada, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Experiencing a solar eclipse in my basement office today.
He's just saving power.
It's tough to get good lighting when you have no windows in your basement office, but what can you do? What can you do?
It's
on with the show.
Under your control.
All he needs is the flashlight, and he can do in the year 2000 over and over again.
We've been accused of being a show with just people in their
basement.
basement.
He's ready to go.
I'm totally ready. Love that little bit. Our friend in Boulder, Colorado, where it's still beautifully daylight and there are windows, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Hey, glad to be back. Cheers.
Cheers, Paul. And our friend in the Mid-Atlantic region, famous for his supercharger reviews, Mr. Kacey Green.
They're trying to get me back out on the road. They keep putting in stations. Like every week, there's like 10 new stations.
That's all you do is drive between superchargers, right? I mean, you don't actually work.
Oh, no, that's the problem is I got to do it after work.
Ooh, that is a problem.
I'm going to have to move to another region of the country so I can get another radius to home base it from.
Someone please offer Kacey a job in a different part of the nation. There we go. Where would you like to go, Kacey?
Or I would actually like to work from home, remote, because then I can just do what I need to do. Yes.
Fair enough. Well, the offer's out there. And last and certainly not least, my friend in the upper left corner of America, Mr. Patrick Connor.
Hello to all my friends out there. We've got the 411 for you today. So welcome to the show where the perfect is not the enemy of the good, where small steps towards a better world are celebrated, where we are trying to make a future that's cleaner and more inclusive. Thanks. Welcome, everybody.
There we go.
Russell, did you know that Patrick had a monologue? Because I didn't see the monologue in the script.
Last minute ad. You missed it.
He paid extra.
Yeah, let's just say that all too often, Patrick leaves me speechless. In text, online, and in person. So that's okay.
Yes, I do like to troll Russell every now and then.
Pretty much every waking moment. Okay, come on. I know. Well, let's start this thing, as we say. Mr. Kacey Green has an issue, a topic, not really a news story, at least that I'm aware of, that he wants to discuss. Kacey, what's up?
It's not really news or new. It's bubbled up again recently. Let's talk about toxic fandom. A friend of mine has a Tesla Model X and a Ford Mach-E. And he was speaking nicely about his Mach-E, and it ended up with the was it not Malali? Levine, whatever position he's in for marketing. And so, sorry, he was trying to defend his customer, and a group of people that I call the Musketeers took things a little too far. So he's received death threats and other online harassment to the point where he's had to refer some folks to the local constabulary, as well as to their local constabulary. It's a freaking car, people. I mean, yes, they do other stuff like some software and energy. Musk doesn't know who you are. He doesn't care. He's mostly a cool dude. He makes mistakes. He's human. He's not a god. So let's not worship the dude. This is not a religion. And if that is how you evangelize your religion, I don't want any part of that either. It's not just Tesla. It's just that the Musketeers were the most recent ones to do this. You see it happen all the time, and excuse me, in politics and even video games and TV shows. It needs to stop. I mean, you can disagree. I mean, think about how people used to be with sports teams. It still kind of are. They disagree. Like you've seen on here with Tony and Mark, when they disagree about whose hockey team is better, they don't ever come to blows. They don't let air out of each other's tires. They don't, stick each other up with guns. I mean, come on.
I don't live near Tony.
You live near enough.
Otherwise, totally would have.
That we know of.
Yeah, well, you're that witness protection box.
There's a reason.
But it wasn't just my friend, and it wasn't just a couple others. There was, and it's not always that extreme. Sometimes it's just a matter of not talking civil, with as a civil human being to another human being. There's a prominent Tesla YouTuber. She's accused of not being able to take a critique, but when you look at the critiques, some of them are a bit aggressive, insulting her intelligence, rather than just saying, hey, I disagree with you, or hey, have you looked at this? You might have overlooked this item. Again, these are inanimate objects and some dudes who don't know us. They're billionaires. They don't need us to defend them. I mean, yeah, you can, say, yeah, Musk didn't have an emerald mine, or you don't need to make stuff up, and no need to be nasty about it.
Yeah, that's sort of just the state of online life today, which is sad. Everybody, if someone doesn't agree with you, then it jumps to name calling, and there's a lot of violations of Wheaton's law, which is the laws don't be a dick. There's a lot of people being dicks. Yeah, there are people who have different opinions than you. That's called being an adult. And if you want to make a persuasive argument for your case, that's fine. If you want to result in name calling, well, then you're a 12-year-old and you shouldn't be allowed to be online because you don't meet the 13-year-old threshold.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's very hazardous online to exist. Some groups may find it harder than others, unfortunately, because it's not even about the fill in the blank, because we're talking right now about Elon Musk fans or Tesla fans, because they're not necessarily the same thing. And that's
right. And it's
that's
not all,
yeah, it's not, they're not the same thing, and it's not all of them, because there's some people for whom you say something about the car, you're going to be a target, and then there's people for whom you say something about Elon Musk, you're going to be a target. But I've seen this just continuously, no matter where it is, there is a toxic element to fandom itself. And I think that the people who do it would do it if they like something else. It would not matter, because it's not about the actual thing they claim to be defending. It is about the ability to verbally assault someone else to resolve their own internal issues.
Yeah, or
And,
tribal signaling.
That too, because they actually find that group and that enhances that behavior. A lot of people thought that it's the anonymity of the internet, and the truth of the matter is, lately they're finding that it has nothing to do with anonymity. It's the lack of consequences, which is not a result of anonymity, and it escalates due to the fact that they can not just find people who have similar feelings about a thing, but similarly feel that escalation to the point of violence is a valid way of protecting that group identity. So, not entirely sure what there is that can be done about it, except to talk about it honestly and openly, and make sure that you know, at least the people for whom these fandoms are around speak up and say, hey, it's just not cool with us. You do it, you're doing it for yourself.
have a little bit of empathy. Remember, there's a person on the other end of that communication device, telephone call, text message, and website. And dudes especially, you're bigger, you're stronger, all that stuff.
Not necessarily. Chill out there with that.
Generally,
assumption.
generally speaking, don't be harassing the females out there. It's unbecoming.
Yeah.
Rape threats
People
are not okay.
People should
Rape
be
threats
treated with
are not
respect.
okay.
I'm sorry, Georgia. Go ahead.
No, that's like, just to make it very clear. Rape threats are not okay. Full stop.
That's true. Yeah, regardless of the other person's gender, still not okay.
Yeah, rape threats,
Death
threats on
threats,
people's family and businesses.
doxing
you know,
people,
right.
all not cool.
Like, how does it get to death threats? Like, I just
all the
don't
dude
get
said
it.
was he
Like-
liked his Mach-E. He likes
Yeah,
his Model X.
like,
I don't understand it.
I just don't. There's something emotionally unbalanced with a person that has to threaten death because they like a product better than you, or vice versa. That's just insanity talking, is what that is.
Right. And in his case, he's a member of both tribes. If you want to make it tribalism based on owning the product. So is he not dedicated enough because he owns 3 EVs from different manufacturers? It's his 3rd Model X. So he obviously has nothing against the product.
You're speaking as though this is an issue of rationalism and logic.
It's just become it's growing.
It's a group of people that are more and more hostile to anyone that they don't feel is as cool as they are. And that includes people that own a particular product or that have invested in a particular company. And those things sort of reinforce and kind of make the situation worse. You're invested in something financially. You bought a product that's not inexpensive. You're invested there again financially. Somebody comes on and anything that seems like that's an attack on your personal property, and people explode. And yeah, that's stupid.
It is. And I understand that the company and the dude are under a smear campaign, but just because anyone says anything that's not 100% nice doesn't mean that they want him out of the picture. I mean, I don't agree with his vaccination stuff most of the time, but it doesn't mean that I don't think that he knows his engineering jobs. I mean, do I think he's perfect? No. Would I take a bullet for him? Probably not. But I'm also not out there trying to tear him down either. But
yeah,
and I mean, it came to a head with locally for me when those insurrectionists tried to take over the government. That's just right up the street from me. 30 minutes.
Yeah, so this applies to any group. If you're a mainstream member of some group and you have some radical, violent fringe of that group, you need to make sure that they know that what they're doing is not cool. It does not represent you. And if that gets you ostracized from the group, then you probably didn't want to be in that group anyway, because it's trending in the wrong direction toward that radical fringe. And that's just not where rational people want to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You might be in a cult. So try to get out of the cult. It's hard. I know.
Yeah. Cults aren't cool. How's that?
Show title.
Cults aren't cool. Let's go to our next story. Thank you, Kacey. That was a good little op-ed there. Georgia has a story about giving something that centers around just about everything we talk about on this show, a second life, which is super important. Georgia, what the hell am I talking about?
Not the platform Second Life. This is about battery Second Life and allowing batteries, hey, this is part of the sustainability thing. We want to kind of make sure that, well, I guess nose to tail is as close as we get, but what? Nose of the car to the carburetor? I don't know. Tailpipe. And we want to make sure that those batteries have another path, because even when they seem to be not really charging, ready to be recycled out, they still have about 70% charging capacity, and they might be able to do something else. So a lot more automakers are trying to do something to give batteries a second life. So here's some cool things they're doing. Nissan is using old batteries to power small robots. Group Renault, with partners, is launching stationary energy storage systems made with old EV batteries. And Audi Environmental Foundation is working with the Indian startup Newnham, to build solar nanogrids out of used e-tron battery modules. Some companies, though, are going a different route where they're not just reusing the batteries, they're actually incorporating that into the manufacture of the batteries. So Lucid has built its batteries to work across its electrical vehicle and energy storage products and include second life uses. BMW uses plug and play concept with the batteries in its i3 model so they can be taken out and moved into second life applications. So I think that's actually an amazingly good plan. What do you guys think? Because one thing that we don't really talk about enough with sustainability is while we do all this green stuff when we switch to rechargeables that require batteries, what are we going to do with all the batteries? Because batteries do have a lifespan. And so something I'm happy to see people dealing with.
I'll say that I get calls all the time from people saying, hey, do you have any Nissan Leaf batteries that are no good in a car because I want to do a homemade Powerwall or do some kind of e-bike project or whatever. So there's definitely a market for, like you said, tired vehicle batteries that can still be used in other applications.
My concern is that there's no standardized thing that's going on for this. Like Paul said, there's a lot of do-it-yourselfers that are doing projects. I've got a friend that is building a pontoon boat and using Tesla batteries to power it, but few and far in between, I would think. And again, we haven't gotten to the point where there's a huge influx of these batteries. We're approaching that point. Some EVs have been around now for 10 years. So that is quickly coming upon us. I remember back in the day with the Chevy Volt, they showed a container box that they piled like 5 into it, and it became a backup for an office. They plugged it into the power grid for an office. But my concern is that is there companies out there that are actively grabbing these batteries at end of use and starting to compile them to put them into these applications, or is it just do-it-yourselfers that are doing it here and there? I'd love to know. I've looked for information on it, and it's sparse.
I think the important, forgive me for making a point on top of George's, but we've talked about this story before about Nissan reusing Leaf batteries. I mean, as we build more and more vehicles with these batteries, and that's one of the things that most of us in the show are big on. Yay, more electric vehicles, more electric appliances and yard tools and whatever else, bicycles. There'll be more and more used batteries out there. And what do we do with them? Do we recycle them? Can we tear them down and use the components again? Or can we simply take them as they are and reuse them in other things like home energy storage or other smaller micromobility vehicles? All that is awesome because we need a diversity of solution and we need a rich ecosphere that is hungry for these batteries. That's a good thing. I think Mark, brought up the point, which is like, there's just, Paul can probably deal with that, but you know what? If somebody handed me like a used Prius battery, I would be a little scared. Like I wouldn't know which end not to lick, It would be like, is this still good?
Metallic ends.
Yeah. So I just, so it's a little scary. It's not for like necessarily the shade tree mechanic. Not yet. In 20 years, 30 years, the kids of today will be the shade tree mechanics are like, I don't care. Give me a few Leaf battery packs. I'm going to make something awesome. You know what I mean? Because they'll have grown up with it. They'll be totally comfortable with it.
But there is still a demand for these batteries. And one concern of the general public is, when the battery's done, it ends up in landfill and they're still worth money. So even if the shop doesn't want to do with it, there's recyclers that come around to the shop and say, hey, we'll buy your scrap aluminum, we'll buy your scrap lead acid batteries, and we'll buy your expired hybrid or EV batteries. And some of the companies are already creating a mechanism like Toyota. If you buy a new hybrid battery from the dealer, you have to give them a $1,350 deposit, core deposit, that you'll return the old battery. And if you don't return the old battery, you have to eat the $1,350. So that's a pretty big incentive to send back the old battery to Toyota, who I'm sure has a mechanism to recycle them and repurpose them and resell them. So,
But does Leaf and Chevy and others, do they have those same programs, Paul, as far as you know?
as far as I know, if you buy a battery through a dealer, there is a deposit program, and you have
Chevy has it for sure.
And
Then,
if you don't
yeah.
send back the battery, and we had a situation, we had a Honda hybrid battery we bought from the dealer, and the customer had put in an aftermarket Honda battery, and the dealer wouldn't take that back as a core. So we had to go find another core to send them to get our deposit back. And it sucked.
Oh.
Wow.
But there are independent companies that are trolling around trying to buy these batteries to repackage them, repurpose them, etc. So,
In your case, in your automotive case, Paul, what would you do when you receive these batteries that are spent? Is there something you prefer to do or have done in the past regularly?
So a lot of the ones, we do a lot of Priuses. So the ones that come out of Priuses, we can break them down and reassemble them and make usable Prius packs out of them. And then what's left over, which in our opinion is, beyond usable in a car, we save them up and then we sell them to a recycler, and they still pay us for them. So it's worth the hassle to do that.
Yeah, even if they're completely dead, they still have the elemental
Exactly.
Right.
usage in them. But if they still hold a little bit of power, it's a little bit more immediately practically useful. So
Right.
Yeah, I really like this story that you shared, Georgia. I really like the way that they said, okay, when they're in a car, they're being drained and charged and off and on, and that when they get down to about 70% capacity, they're no longer able to do it in that environment. So then they get this second life where life is easy, and then they slow charge, slow drain. It's like a little retirement home for your batteries before they shuffle off to the recycler.
sounds like all of my computers.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Good article.
I think you just described the rest of my life, Patrick. I'm gonna go cry.
Existential threats.
Yeah.
Well, and it makes sense because with a Nissan Leaf with just under 100 miles of range when you first get it, when it gets down to that 25-mile range, you can't really take as many trips with it anymore. So if you could, go get it refreshed, get a 120-mile range in the same container, and then that same 25 miles could be used for stationary storage because it doesn't matter how heavy they are. You can add a bunch of them together.
And we didn't have to mine resources to build them. We didn't have to manufacture them. We'd have to ship them. They're here. We just have to adapt them to a purpose. That's the best.
Yes, and I've heard of a couple recyclers that are actually aiming to make the process more efficient. So you'll get more yield and better quality yield. So you might get some battery grade elements out of the recycled packs rather than having to refine them further. But even so, it's very much like it's cheaper to recycle your glass bottles and aluminum cans than it is to go get virgin material if done correctly.
Yeah, batteries are one of the things with the highest recycle rate compared to paper or glass. It's better than that. So, and it's because of things like Paul was talking about, where they have core deposits. Well, that's real motivation. It's real money. You're not going to just go, I'll just throw it in this trash can instead of getting $1,300.
Yeah,
Or you might do that for a nickel deposit.
$2,000, no big deal.
Even like lead acid batteries, if you go buy a battery at AutoZone or O'Reilly's, they're going to charge you a $20 core charge. So people are going to bring back the old one for the $20.
Exactly.
And lead
Unless
acid
you
batteries
forget,
are-
because I have one sitting on my table.
Yeah, but they have an insanely high recycle rate. I think it's like 98% of lead acid batteries get recycled.
I'm
Right,
bringing
that's-
down the average.
Yeah,
I'm
come on,
bringing
Georgia. This is your
Been there
story.
for
You're not
4
supposed to
years.
admit to
I
this.
still haven't brought it in. I don't know what to do with it anymore.
Just bring it in anyway. Most places will take it.
Yeah, you just take it to O'Reilly, and if you didn't buy a battery from them, they'll still give you a gift card for it or something.
Not bad.
Cool.
See, now I know.
Russell's going out with a flashlight and a screwdriver to get some batteries later.
Well, luckily, most cars you can't open the hoods like the old days without getting inside the car.
You're no fun, Paul. Okay, fine.
There's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Well, Georgia, thank you so much for that. A super great topic, and it's one that we want to revisit regularly and find out what we're doing with these things because it's super important. Let's see. Before we go to Mark Coughlin and This Week in Tesla, I just want a brief word to say thank you to all 2,121 subscribers on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/whatdrivesus. Go there. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. Thanks to Sergey and Green Tea and Christian and James and Bob. Thank you all for subscribing recently. We really appreciate it. And you know what? If you're already a subscriber and you want to reach out and do something cool for the show for free, maybe post a link to our YouTube channel on your Twitter feed or Facebook feed or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. Whatever it is you hip, cool kids are doing these days, because I'm not doing it. I'm not hip and cool. Oh, Georgia, you're muted. Sorry.
They're on the MySpace.
All you GeoCities owners, get with it.
I'm in the AOL chat room, right?
We're still all in AIM.
Keep going. The AOL chat.
Kids.
Or at least it wasn't Yahoo. They're shutting everything down.
Yeah.
Oh, hold up. Friendster's still okay, right?
It probably is Alta Vista, and you can find us.
Yeah. Look on my Google Plus profile, everybody. Okay. Thank you. Like I said, just thank you so much for subscribing. If you want to help us out, post a link, suggest it to your friends. We appreciate that. It's a good way to support the show, and it costs you nothing but your dignity. Thank you so much for giving that to us.
Lots of dignity.
Let's go to Mark Coughlin for This Week in Tesla. Speaking of dignity. Oh, did I go there? I went.
Yeah,
I'm
you went there
sorry.
on purpose. Yes, you
I'm
did.
so sorry. I
Yes.
was going to be good tonight, too. Damn it.
This week, Tesla, of course, announced their quarter one sales and surprised Wall Street, caught them off guard because they smashed their own record. In a quarter one, they delivered 184,800 cars. And that amount certainly was a surprise. Wall Street was having them come in well underneath that. The other surprise, of course, is that this wasn't just a quarter one record. This was an all-time record. So this is the most cars they've ever sold in a quarter. Pandemic or not, Tesla sales continue to skyrocket. Throughout the rest of the year, man, if they did this well in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, they could be on definitely pace to sell 1 million vehicles this year, whereas last year they sold 500,000. So, a doubling of your sales is certainly something that Tesla would love to do, and they're on pace to do it. So it'll be interesting to see as they move on through the next quarters. But again, I'm predicting nothing but blue skies for Tesla going forward, as far as I can see, based on the information that's available to the public.
Still curious where they get these numbers for the analysts.
They make them up, Kacey. Dartboard. With that, also kind of an interesting story out of Queens, New York. They've been looking and seeing what's been happening across the river in New Jersey when it comes to virtual power plants. New Jersey and up the coast in Vermont, California, Australia, Halifax, Nova Scotia, they've all participated in something called a virtual power wall, a virtual power network. And what this is they allow homes to purchase power walls, and then they allow the utility to control those walls. And what it does is it helps reduce use on peaker plants. It helps even the grid out. It gives everyone the ability to send fast energy to different parts of that utilities network through these power walls. And Queens is going to enlist the help of hundreds of Queens, New York residents to put these power walls into their homes, get them fired up, and allow them to help balance the load and reduce that peaker plant need, as well as pay back the residents for the use of this extra power that's being distributed through a number of their clients on their grid. So this is a test pilot for them. They say hundreds they're going to be installing. And if they see the same results as, say, Vermont and others, I think this certainly will expand. But it's good to see another utility getting involved with decentralizing the power to allow it to benefit everyone that's on that particular grid. And finally, what happened, interesting release. Everybody knows about the Cybertruck is coming. You know, if you got your order in, you're probably looking at certainly late this year or next year for those orders start to flow out in volume. But a company called Cyberlander, and that's cyberlandr.com if you want to visit them on the web. They have announced a bit of a glamper, which is, of course, camping in style is what this is. So they have a unit that fits in the back of the Cybertruck. And the difference in this unit is that it expands like an accordion. So it raises up to about 6.5 to 7 feet. It's got a solar roof embedded into it. It's got inside, it's got windows that are electronically dimmed. It has the ability to, it's got a shower, it's got a toilet, it's got a kitchen sink, it's got a queen size bed, it's got a 34-inch television. It even has Starlink hooked up to it, so you've got mobile internet. So that, of course, if you're going camping way out in the woods, that's the only thing you want, is have that reliable internet. So now you can be the envy of the campsite because you can share it with everybody on your network. But this is kind of an interesting thing on camping. What thing that really I like about it is that since this does slim down, according down to the size of the bed of the truck, when you're done with it, it can just be sitting in the bed, and it doesn't bring the aerodynamics of the vehicle. So you haven't got this huge wind sail that's slowing you down or chewing up energy when you're driving to the campsite, because it's all inside the bed and covered, and it doesn't affect it. So all your range can be used to get back from the sites you're going to. And when you're at the site you want to stay at, you just fold it up, put it in place, and you've got yourself a sleeping and an office quarters out in the wilderness, wherever you are. So
Mark,
check
do you
them
have any
out.
pictures you can share with us?
There is
Thank
a
you,
couple
Paul.
of pictures.
You'll have to watch the
Yeah.
Tesla Life to see that, Paul. We covered this
Oh,
in
nice.
detail. Yes, we did.
Yeah, I want
Let's
to
see
some
if we can
pictures.
get a couple of photos going here.
But it is a pretty interesting thing to look at too. So they talked about having a way to leave this thing at home when you're not camping. Something like dolly, maybe some roof racks.
I'm having trouble fitting all this stuff into something that's going to smash down into the bed of a truck. Like,
It will.
unless it like goes up like 6 stories tall.
Well, it's not. You don't have all the rooms at once. You convert it as you need from
I see.
whatever to whatever.
So we go like a remote control click from bed mode to kitchen mode.
Exactly.
Are you seeing this now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very.
It's kind of cool.
How much is that? I guess it doesn't matter.
How much is this? Here we
No,
go.
How much
no,
does
no,
it
no.
weigh?
How much does it weigh?
1,200 pounds dry.
How much wet?
13.
So right now, though,
wet.
it's just a computer model. It doesn't exist anywhere.
Doesn't
Well, the truck
exist
doesn't
at this
exist
point.
yet.
I might
Yeah.
just do that.
We definitely put out the grain of salt
Right.
warnings with this story.
Tell them about the shower, Patrick.
Oh
That's
yeah,
crazy.
so it recirculates the water, and it has 4 filters. But I'm concerned about showering in recycled water.
The good thing is the only thing recycled is the shower water. So it's not going to be bathing in
that's
old
good
chicken
news.
water.
Yeah.
They don't recycle into the drinking water?
No, the drinking water is fresh, and the kitchen water is fresh, but
And it's a dry
the
toilet.
the toilet is dry. So yeah.
Mhm.
But very, very interesting concept. The company is going to be setting up near Austin, Texas. Their hope, of course, is for you to pick up your Cybertruck and drive over to their place so they can throw their camper in the back. There's a number of it's almost like a Kickstarter. It's not under Kickstarter, but what they're doing is you can put down a reservation of as little as $100 and have a discount of $5,000 on the vehicle, or on the not the vehicle, the actual Glamper. But it's
On the one hand, it's up my alley. On the other hand, recycled water.
yeah. So it's an interesting concept. It's not a fit for everybody, obviously, but with a 1 or 2 person out there, it might be a good fit. You're looking at about $50,000 is the price of this particular enhancement to your Cybertruck story. So,
And you get it with less options.
yeah, it's interesting that there is some connection with Tesla, although how great it is, we're really not sure. The company says they do connect to the Tesla battery somehow. What portion they use of it?
The LED
All
light.
questions we don't know. But certainly the solar on top being able to charge the battery is a plus, and that would give you the ability to run it at night or whenever you had to. So
I like to do this calculation whenever I'm looking at RVs or campers or stuff like that, because it's always tempting. Like, ooh, I could do anything I wanted. So for $50,000, I can stay in a $250 a night hotel room for 200 nights.
Yes.
Why the hell do I want to wash myself in recycled water?
that's not even a year, Russell.
Well, if you do stay in it for a year, then that's actually kind of interesting. It's a little tiny house. I think that the Tesla connection is the founder must be QA tester number 7.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't know what it is, but
We don't know.
they claim there is some sort of connection, but we will see as it goes out. There's a few of them that are actually being made now, and a number of YouTubers are being given the ability to have the Glamper for a day or two to test out and film it. So we'll be definitely watching when this becomes a reality that you can touch and feel.
Thank you very much, Mark. And do follow him where, Mark? Where do people find?
You can follow us throughout the week on our Twitter feed, The Tesla Life, or you can follow us on YouTube, The Tesla Life Show. So please follow along, and we would appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Look for the shiny red logo and do sign up and subscribe and be one of Mark's millions of followers on Twitter or YouTube. Said with just a little bit of envy.
Just a bit. Millions. Yes, right.
Millions. Well, thank you very much for that, Mr. Coughlin. Let's go to Patrick Connor. Something's going on down in Alabama, and I'm
That's right.
afraid. I'm so afraid.
It's not the devil in Georgia. It's greed in Alabama. So
Yeah.
earlier, Mark mentioned virtual power plants and utilities supporting renewables and their customers, and that's great. Well, this story is kind of the opposite of that. This is coming to us from al.com, alabama.com. But actually, I looked and it's not, so don't confuse it with the state of Alabama. That would be .gov. This is .com, and it's a story from advanced local media. So it's titled, Feds Asked to Strike Down Alabama Power Solar Fee. And there's no byline for this. I'd like to give the author credit, but there isn't one. So let me just give you a little recap of this story. So Alabama Power, the utility, is charging customers a fee for having solar on their roof. And the average size array in the state is about 5 kilowatts, and they're being charged $27.05 per month.
Is this the same people running my utility?
Right. Yeah. So this ridiculous fee was approved by the state's Public Service Commission.
Yeah, that's
So, which, well, I mean, it's right there in the name. And I think they are not serving the public. They are servicing their corporate masters instead. So, in response to this, the Southern Environmental Law Center has filed a petition with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, asking the federal agency to order Alabama to end this fee. They said this fee does not comply with the federal utility law because it is not based on the actual cost of providing power to their customers. So they would have to show that this was actually causing them that much in additional outlay, and there's just no evidence for that at all. So here's a nice quote. Alabamans are being penalized for using less power, for trying to implement cost savings measure and using renewable resources, says Kenneth Johnson, managing attorney for the Southern Environmental Law Center, Alabama office. They are being punished by this charge, which is essentially a solar tax. So I've just got one more little bit here to read about from it. And so a fee like this removes any of the real cost benefits for having solar. And that makes it really difficult to justify the cost. And it's working. It's really stagnating the solar in that state. And if you compare Alabama with states like Georgia and the Carolinas, there are hundreds of people in Alabama with solar, where there are thousands or tens of thousands in the other states, in their neighboring states. So yeah, that's what's going on, and I've made my opinion on it very clear. This is ridiculous.
We've said this before, the fact that these utilities are really boxing themselves into a corner. Because what will happen is that over time, as the price of local storage gets cheaper, as those battery packs become cheaper and more, can store more, what will happen is that people will leave the grid completely. And then once they do that, they're not going to collect that $27, not going to collect anything because that customer is long gone.
In a lot of states, it's illegal to not be connected to the grid.
I know that's true in Florida. I haven't heard of other states.
California.
California,
really?
Florida, but
Even
not South
Colorado,
Carolina. So if they
unless
pass this
you're-
garbage, we can unplug.
Unless your
That's
home is in
against the
an
law.
inaccessible rural area that has no service, you cannot cut
Like
off
in
the grid.
Colorado, you have to be like 500 feet from a utility before you can be off the grid completely. So if you live in Boulder and you have solar and wind and you want to cut the grid off, you're not allowed to do that. I guess who wrote those laws?
The utilities.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
Those solar companies. Oh, sorry.
there, at least on my bill, and I assume on nearly all of them, there's a fee every month that is independent of my use, and it's I think it's $15, maybe it's $10. It's in that range, and that's just for having service. And then you pay per kilowatt above that. And there's different rate programs, whether you're in some tiered program or a flat rate or time of use or whatever. But they all have that being connected to the grid fee. And they also have the ability to change the fee structure, right? So if they're getting too much solar power during noon hour, then they can make power cheap and more people will use it. Or they can actually have feed-in tariffs and not give you very much money to feed in at that time, which would then encourage you to do something else like have batteries on the side of your house, since you're not getting any benefit from feeding the grid. But even if you were getting paid zero for that, that's not the same as having this ridiculous fee.
Yeah, it sounds like my utility was emboldened by the success of whoever had here in Alabama. Hopefully it gets struck down, and if our people succeed, they also get the smackdown, but hopefully we can defeat them. The testimonies went from 9 in the morning till well after 1:30 in the morning because they were running late. So for my testimony was like 50 minutes late. So no, sorry, it was over an hour late. But
Oh wow.
yeah.
Yeah, but see,
Mine
you're
was
being
planned
involved.
lunchtime.
That's exactly the message that Georgia often says on here. I won't steal it from you. Go ahead, Georgia.
Nothing to steal. Just you have to show up and you have to provide public comment on these issues. You got to stay on it. Lobbyists. There are people whose entire job is to show up for a city council meeting or a planning commission meeting and wait sometimes 3, for 5 hours until that issue comes up and they can make a statement for a company.
Yeah, and COVID
Organized.
helped in this case because most of us were unable to actually meet that daytime in the middle of a workday event. But most of the solar folks in my region are on work from home, so they were able to meet the telephone call. That was how we did it. So
Yeah.
that's why we were able to run it so late in the night. But like Georgia said, they would wait that way anyway, even if we were all packed in. So.
Mhm.
It's kind of a modern version of back in the 70s when the phone companies came out with touch tone dialing. They charged consumers $2 extra for the touch tone dialing. And then some engineer told the Public Service Commission, hey, it's actually cheaper for the phone company to run their network with touch tone dialing. So why are you charging the consumers more for that service? And it actually got struck down and everybody got free touch tone dialing. But for years, the phone company was charging millions of people $2 a month for something that was saving them money.
Yep. And that was my argument. It's like right now for me, when I'm making my most output in South Carolina is in the heat of the day. So the power is running next door to both my neighbors' air conditioners. It's not going any further than that.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much for that, Patrick. That's it just makes me sad. I mean, it's typical. We see it all over the place, sadly. So
Yep, we do. And I think we need to do exactly what Kacey did and get involved and have a voice and
Yeah.
say we're not going to put up with that crap.
and call people out that support that. Call out the legislators that are taking, generic bills like this and bills from ALEC and just ramming these through that have no interest for the actual people in the state.
Right.
It's to support
The
almost
only
always.
bills they're taking are the $100 bills in
Right?
paper bags.
It's
for
amazing
kids.
how hostile to their constituents these
Mhm.
legislatures are becoming.
I'm
Yep.
just
Like-
a Benjamin Franklin bill.
Exactly.
It's like your job is to serve and protect us, and you are like actively making it so that you don't have to do what you do, what we need, and you're making it so A, we can't vote, and B, that you get to pick your voters. It's not all around. We need reform, and the only way that's going to happen, like Georgia says, is if you participate.
Don't forget to pay attention to any gerrymandering debates or issues. If you have a problem with your district being crazily drawn, like I don't know, Madison Coughlin. Yeah, you really do have to pay attention to redistricting fights and gerrymandering fights, because that is your first point that you've got to fight over, that you've got to win that argument, that issue. So citizens commissions, yo.
Yes, absolutely. On that note, I'm going to call it a night. Let's do some shout outs and go home. And I'm going to start with Mr. Kacey Green.
So I've got a couple videos coming up on youtube.com/Kacey Green. That's KACEYGREEN. There. And there's gonna be a short one where my car happened to get the camera triggered by Crew Dragon DM1. That's the Crew Dragon that was occupied by the flight test article, the crash test dummy, if you will, and then a couple others. And then hopefully Tesla will release some software and I can do another deep dive as well. But it's going to be fun. We'll catch you there.
Do check out Kacey's YouTube channel and subscribe because, well, it's just the right thing to do. And it's good stuff. Mr. Coughlin, what's going on in sexy lighting land?
I would like to say, if you're watching this video at this point, you must like what you're seeing. So please give us a thumbs up at this point. It helps the YouTube channel. Also, press subscribe. It doesn't cost you a dime. If you're listening on an audio podcast player, give us 5 stars. It helps us out. It pushes things forward. It costs you nothing. And you hear this all the time, but it really does help us. So support the show by doing those things. We would really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Coughlin. Mr. Guzik, you get any cars in the used lot yet?
We're still a little lean.
Not to derail you, but okay.
No, it's a tough market right now in the used car world, just because there's not a lot of inventory. So if you don't need to buy a car in the next few weeks, hold off. Things will get better. So,
There's also a guy out there taking batteries out of cars.
yeah. I am happy that there's still a smidgen of daylight here, so I might get home before it gets dark.
Yay!
And lastly, as I always say, if you live in Boulder, Denver, on the Front Range, you have an EV or hybrid car, check us out. We'll fix your car. We'll sell you a better car, whatever you need. BoulderHC.com and BoulderH.com.
And I'm not only the president of the hair club. No, I mean, I'm also a customer. So yeah, BoulderH.com. Definitely a good place to go. Paul's a good guy to deal with. Mr. Connor.
Hello, everybody. I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. And I also write occasionally at carswithcords.net. I have a story coming out about every 2 weeks. So I've been sticking to that schedule and getting them published on time. So that's fun. So yeah, check out carswithcords.net. And occasionally Russell and I discuss some of those articles for the extra content folks, the ones so lucky to get to see those.
And I think we have one on deck that we just haven't done yet.
Right, we do, yep.
So look for that. Look for more exciting Russell and Patrick content.
And the way that you get access to that is down below this show. You'll see a little join button.
Oh.
Click that and then look at the tiers, pick one, join it. And then in the community tab, you'll see all of the content that's available to you.
And announcements for new content coming up, all sorts of things.
Absolutely.
And who knows what we'll be doing with that soon. So
The
thank you
community
so much
tab is for everybody, but that's where you'll find the exclusive stuff also there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because ain't nothing run for free in this world, folks. That's for sure. Except this show for over 10 years. I don't know.
What you pay for.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, speaking of Georgia McKenzie, Georgia, bring us home, as I like to say.
Well, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because you've been through this entire episode. Obviously, you're interested. Just go on ahead. Admit it. Hit like and subscribe. While you're at it, head on over to the Tesla Live. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe there, and slip on over to Kacey's channel, because you want to see a Tesla following him around like a little puppy dog. It's a little weird, a little terrifying. But on the other hand, if you're nice to your robot overlord now while they're just cars and minis in your household, when they take over the world, you probably won't suffer too much. They'll kill you quick. So there you go. That's the kind of advice we provide you here at What Drives Us, sustainable and also forward thinking. Back to Russell.
That is investment advice that will make every viewer of this show enormously wealthy. And I stand by that. Be nice to your robot overlords now. Absolutely. Thank you, Georgia. Sorry to finish it off with that silliness. That's what I do. Anyway, as always, I want to thank Michael Mannering for his theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Buy a song, buy an album, whatever. Buy something. How's that? I want to thank Mark Coughlin, Georgia McKenzie, Patrick Connor, Paul Guzik, and Kacey Green for being a great panel this week. I want to thank each and every one of you out there. All of you. All of you. And even if you're not watching us, because really, but if you're listening, thank you as well. Tune in next week and find out what drives us.
Little audio.
I give up on Apple. That's what this is Tim Cook.